Tuesday, 91.7 The Edge, WSUW Whitewater. We got a special show here today for you folks. It's the bracket show. There's a lot going on in college basketball. We just had the selection show the other day. The first games for the tournament are actually tonight, the first four matchups. They do not have a true impact on our bracket, however, so we will be able to fill it out with enough information. Welcome into the show today. I'm your host, Chris Pittner, joined by a fantastic crew as always. Alex, Ryan, Creston, Colin, and Michael. Guys, how are we doing today?
Pretty good. Gearing up for spring break. Almost there.
Gearing up for spring break.
Just loading up.
Is anyone making a Lottie trip?
I will be going to Tennessee.
Ooh.
I'll be going to Elkhart Lake.
I will be
to
going
stay
to
with my
Florida.
bud.
That's not far from me at all.
Yeah.
About 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I'll be going to Florida.
You will be? Which city?
Naples.
Naples? Gotcha.
You seem like a Miami guy to me.
I don't know. I was thinking more
Vegas.
Panama City Beach.
I was
but
thinking Vegas.
Yeah, something.
I was thinking Ryan was going to hit Vegas for sure.
I don't know, Colin. You struck me as a Fort Lauderdale type of guy. Maybe next year.
Maybe
You
next
strike me
year.
as like a Little Rock, Arkansas.
What can I say?
Yeah.
Woo pig, baby.
All right, so we're going to jump into our little, I guess this is our Warhawk thought of sorts for today. Just everyone's favorite March Madness memory. I guess I'll start it off. Mine was definitely when the Wisconsin Badgers made it to the NCAA championship game. We don't have to talk about what happened in that game, but the game before where they beat undefeated Kentucky, the 38-1 run was just absolutely incredible. Kentucky beat them the year before, and they were able to avenge their loss, and that was pretty awesome, I thought. I mean, Sam Decker is a guy from my hometown, so always rooted for him and the Badgers. So, yeah, that was pretty fun. Alex, how about you?
Well, the one I remember the best is Jimmer Fredette absolutely dismantling Gonzaga.
Jimmer Fredette was quite the player back in the day,
Yeah,
I do
I
have
mean-
to say.
What is this? 34 points. 34
He was a
points for
stud.
Jimmer. Yeah.
He convinced the Kings to take a draft pick on him, and he was in China about 2 months later.
Yep.
Didn't he put like a 72-point game up in China?
Something like
fairly
that.
certain he just
That's,
went off.
yeah, I'll put it this way, I wouldn't be shocked. I think I heard about that, but I'm not sure exactly how much
You
he
heard
put
the
up.
get ready to learn Chinese rumors and just did it.
Took
he
it
just
literally.
learned Chinese and went over there and just dominated.
All right, Ryan, how about you?
I know it's the 2016 national championship where
The Jenkins for the championship shot?
Villanova won at the buzzer over North Carolina.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the best games of all time, but I think something that gets overshadowed in that, I believe it was Marcus Page hit that absolutely crazy three. It's probably about 6 feet off the line, a double clutch shot. Like, that shot, in my opinion, was more impressive than the Chris Jenkins one. I don't know if anyone else has thoughts on that, but
Yeah, but it wasn't for the
that
title.
double clutch.
yeah,
Remember seeing Michael Jordan's reaction to that and then the reaction to the shot after?
I don't actually. I don't know
just-
if I've ever seen it
I
before.
don't know. As a LeBron fan, seeing Michael Jordan's heart ripped out of his chest when Jenkins hit that shot
What a time to be
it was
alive.
a great move. And I was like, yeah.
GOAT debate coming soon. Creston?
I think, again, I'm going to go for a little bit of a homer pick here. I think when Wisconsin upset the 1 seed Villanova, I don't remember exactly what tournament it was, but I just think upsetting the number 1 seed, I believe it was in the second round.
Yeah, that was definitely a moment. Definitely a moment for sure. It was a lot of just a great game. Loyola's Cinderella run was definitely something, let me tell you. Sister Jean, I still want them to get one before she passes away, unfortunately, whenever that happens. How old is she now, like 103 or something like that? It's definitely getting up there.
I did not know
Definitely.
she was still kicking it.
Yeah, she was born before sliced bread.
She is.
We got stats here.
We got Sister
Ryan's
Jean
pulling it
stats.
up.
Yep. She's 104.
Oh,
Wow. She's got 18 more years left,
So
and she's
what?
the oldest woman in the world.
She's lived through World War II, the Cold War, Vietnam.
She was born in 1919. Just think about that.
Yep.
She saw the Roaring Twenties and the Great Depression.
Yeah, she lived
Crazy.
through the Great Depression. She was
Yeah.
old enough to like remember everything about like the entire Depression. Like she was an adult during the Depression.
That's crazy to think. I'm taking a history class after 1877, and it's crazy to think about that all the stuff we're talking about, she was alive for that.
Yeah, like people were whipping around the Model T when she was alive.
I'm gonna
Like she was born before women could vote.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's insane, Sister Jean stats right there. But I'm gonna throw it back to 2016. Speaking of Little Rock, Arkansas, I'm gonna talk about the Trojans, UALR,
Ooh.
2016. A classic Purdue choke when Josh Hagens hit a game-winning three-pointer in the first round. I think that was the last time Euler has been in the tournament. Maybe they've made it once since then, but Josh Hagen's a guy who I have a signed T-shirt from. He now plays in the G League, but UALR legend, hit a game winner versus Purdue. All-time moment for me.
Yeah, that was just another line of Purdue chokes,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we'll get into that more as we get to the Purdue game. I wonder who's going to have the honor of deciding whether they beat the 16 seed or not. But Michael?
Generally, my favorite is from whenever I first started watching March Madness, which is around 2012 to like 2014, like around when Louisville was dominant. I remember those teams from back in like last decade.
When Rick Pitino was their coach,
Yeah.
those were some teams, let me tell you.
Yeah.
What was his name? Like Peyton Sivo was on that team. Terry Rozier, I think, went there too at some point.
Dog.
Terry Rozier.
I think so.
Rosier.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that, but I'm like 95% sure. There's also a couple like other dogs on that team that I just can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah. I'd say those are pretty fun times to be around.
Are you a Louisville fan?
No, not really. But I mean, I like Redbirds. I like Cardinals, but
So are you
Live
one of
on
those
there.
mascot pickers?
sure.
Sure.
Like when you make your bracket, it's just based off who has the cooler mascot?
Well, back then, yeah, definitely.
I know my mom is a huge mascot picker. If the Badgers aren't in, she just picks who looks the coolest, and it's embarrassing when she beats me every year.
One more thing I want to say back to Josh Hagens. Plays for the G League, hit a game winner in March Madness, and follows me on Instagram. Slight flex, just had to mention
Wow,
that.
yep.
Nice.
Quick pat on the back for yourself. But with that, we're going to jump into the bracket. We got 63 matchups to get through and 52 minutes to do it. I think the first one, I'm going to start off with Alex here. UConn Stetson, take it away.
I mean, it's the 1 seed versus a 16 seed. UConn is no Purdue. I'm predicting this is going to be a 30-point blowout on the Huskies side. I mean, they had the harder conference. They shoot better. They rebound better. They have more assists, more steals per game, more blocks per game, less turnovers, and they commit less fouls. So I think, it goes without saying, the University of Connecticut will be making it to the round of 32.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you on this one.
Hot take there.
Yeah, I know.
In what world
Really,
is that?
that's gonna get our show some controversy for sure. But with that, on to the next one. Ryan, FAU versus Northwestern.
I think this will be a close game, but I'm picking Northwestern.
Northwestern, do you have any reason or any? I know you're an Illinois guy, so
Well, I think they got. There's a kid on the team who went to my high school,
oh really? Who is
Yeah.
it?
Nick Martinelli.
Nick Mortinelli. I think he was. If I'm not mistaken, he plays like somewhat significant minutes
he
for
played-
them.
Yeah, he started a lot of games this year.
Yeah, and I know Boo Booey's another great player,
Yeah,
so
I
someone to
think
look out for.
Who averages about like 19 points a game, 3 rebounds, 5 assists.
I know against the Badgers, he had a huge game in the Big Ten tournament when I sat down and watched that one. But on to Kristen here. Your pick, San Diego State versus UAB.
Yeah, firstly, I just want to talk about how FAU is very overseeded in this tournament. But going on to mine, UAB is kind of a little bit of a sleeper team here, but I think I am going to go with San Diego State. I just think, we saw what they did last year. I believe they didn't lose very much talent from last year. I just think, I don't know, it's tough to go to the championship last year and then get bounced in the first round. I just feel like that would not be a good look for them. I will say that the UAB does offensive rebound a lot. They get about 13 offensive rebounds per game. this game is also going to be a brick fest. UAB shoots 32% from three, and San Diego State.
They got one of the lower true shooting percentages from what I'm seeing, but so does San Diego State. Neither one of them have a great offense.
Yeah, absolute brick fest.
Yeah, opening up a union with all the bricks being laid.
Yeah, I'm going to go with San Diego State.
The difference, I think, is just in their defenses.
Yeah.
UAB has a significantly worse opponent efficiency rate. They have a lower winning percentage playing in a tough, not a tough league. The only thing that they have on them is free throw percentage, which is something I like to weigh in, but I don't really think it's going to make that much of a difference in a game where you can't really score the ball and you can't stop the other team. So I don't really see a UAB putting up a fight either. On to Colin.
So I got Auburn, Yale, 4 versus 13. So there's definitely room for an upset in a matchup like this, but I don't think there will be one. Auburn wins their games by an average of 15 points. And Yale barely made it in they beat Brown for their conference
Brown got
championship.
hot at the end of the season for some reason, though. It was strange how
Brown, I believe,
they
was
kind of came out of nowhere.
under 500 on the season.
They
Still.
were like 13 and 19 or
18.
something like that. They
Yeah,
just got
so
hot at the right time.
barely beating a team that's under 500 and making it in the tournament, and that's the only reason Yale's even here. So
Auburn also won the SEC.
yeah, good job for them for making it here, but the line ends in the round of 64 for them.
Yeah, I think it's just that I don't know why. Hear me out on this. I'm not gonna pick it like my way, but I feel like this just feels like the type of game where for some reason Auburn's gonna have the worst game of the season and Yale's just gonna beat them by 15
Nah.
for no reason whatsoever.
I feel like Yale, if they beat Auburn, could genuinely make it to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, that would be something, wouldn't it? But Michael, you are now at the 6-11 matchup.
All right, the BYU versus Duquesne.
Yes.
All right. Well, congratulations, guys. I'm picking my first up here. We're doing Duquesne over BYU.
Duquesne over BYU. I know Sam Strash definitely would not agree with that, but do you have a reason?
Something just tells me BYU isn't going to perform in basketball.
BYU is an interesting team because they're one of the better shooting teams in the tournament for sure.
I noticed that. They have like 81.8 points per game, but I don't know. Their defense isn't necessarily too remarkable. I think
when you score so many points per game, though, you see this with teams like Illinois, too, where it's like if you put up so many points, you're also just in return, like if you play at such a fast pace, you're going to give up more buckets just because your possessions, both teams have so many more possessions.
Mm-hmm.
So that is interesting. Yeah, BYU, I know they're a good three-point shooting team, but I don't know a ton more about them. But I'm going to move on to the next game really quick. Illinois versus Morehead State. I think Illinois is one of the best teams and one of the hottest teams in this tournament. Just won the Big Ten. They have a couple great players. Shannon, I think his first name is Terrence, maybe? Terrence Shannon and Marcus Damask are both incredible players. I will not let Greg Gard go for letting Marcus Damask, a Waupun, Wisconsin native, get down to Illinois. But he torched the Badgers the other day. There's no other way to put it. And for that, I'm going to pick them. We're back to Alex now with Washington State versus Drake, a 7-10 matchup. Those honestly are toss-ups.
Looking at their overall rankings, it's 44 and 47. Honestly, give me Drake. I don't have to look any more into this. They shoot the ball better. They shoot more free throws.
They shoot better from the line, too.
Yeah, I mean, they're just a better team, I think. I don't know.
The only difference is Washington State probably played a harder schedule just because they're in a Power 5 conference, but I think the Pac-12 in basketball is probably one of the weaker conferences for sure.
Didn't Klay Thompson go to Washington State?
He did.
Oh, jeez, that changes everything.
Someone who went there 13 years ago changes everything.
a washed spot-up shooter who went there 13 years ago. Come on. Yeah.
Come on.
You
For
know what?
those who
Just give
don't
me
know,
Drake.
they're signaling for 4 rings. Because that's his common
That's
response.
all
But
he's
you're going to
got.
pick Drake, Alex?
I am going to pick Drake.
Drake moves on. The Drake curse does not live on for the first round. Ryan, back to you. Iowa State versus South Dakota State.
First, I think that's a great pick, Drake,
Thank you so much.
to win.
Thank you. Upset alert.
I got Iowa State for this. I think they crushed Houston by 28 to win the Big 12 title. I think they have a dynamic backcourt, and I think they play aggressive on defense.
Yeah, they're one of the better defensive teams. Houston definitely had a hard time
Yeah.
cracking them. They only had like 40 points in
Why
that
did I
game.
not know Iowa State was this good? They're a
They for-
2
they-
seed?
Iowa State started the year unranked too. They're one of the cooler stories in
Yeah.
college basketball this year.
Yeah,
They're going to sell.
We'll see.
Not first round. They'll beat
I'm picking
South Dakota
Iowa.
State for sure.
so I'm picking Iowa State.
Iowa State over South Dakota. Interesting. I guess I shouldn't say interesting. That's pretty chalk. We got two upsets here in this upper region. We got 9-seeded Northwestern beating out 8-seed FAU, and then we got Drake beating Washington State. Now on to the West region. Creston, North Carolina versus the winner of the Howard versus Wagner game.
It doesn't matter who wins. North Carolina's going to absolutely creamroll this team.
Fair enough. Colin, 8-9. We got
Absolutely
Michigan State and
creamroll.
Mississippi State.
Yeah, and despite Michigan being the 9 seed here, if you look at the overall ranking, Mississippi State's 30 and Michigan State is 19th. And,
19th. Are you...
BPI ranking, yes.
Can I just say that Michigan State might be the most overrated team in the country? I'm not a fan of them at all.
Why do you say that?
Draymond Green.
They don't impress me in any way, shape, or form. They haven't had the greatest resume. They were on the bubble, like not even sure if they were going to get in. They get a 9 seed. I think that's ridiculous.
They're gonna win the first round at least. I don't know how far they're gonna go after that, but I think there's a better team than Mississippi State, overrated or not.
Brendan Donlevy will not be happy with you for that pick.
Sorry, Brendan.
Michael, on to you. So we got North Carolina, Michigan State, kind of two of the more blue blood type programs facing off. I know Michigan State's not a blue blood per se, but North Carolina definitely is. Michael, you got St. Mary's versus Grand Canyon University.
Okay. Well, I know yesterday they picked Grand Canyon, but this time I actually kind of want to pick St. Mary's to win this game over Grand Canyon. I know Grand Canyon's red hot right now. They have probably one of the best teams in all of FCS, but I just think I think St. Mary's going to come away with this one.
St. Mary's has one of the better defenses, and I think, honestly, when you look at a tournament type situation, I'd rather have defense than offense. Call that a hot take if you want, but offense wins games, defense wins championships, and that's a big thing. But moving on to my pick, I got Alabama versus Charleston, and Charleston was definitely the trendy 5-12 pick last year to go with. But I'm going to go with Alabama again. Charleston was unable to get it done last year, and they're not nearly as talented. They played in the same conference. They're just, I don't know, I'm not sold on them this year, which means they'll probably win because, I don't know, that's just how March Madness usually goes for me. But on to you, Alex, now with the next matchup, which is Clemson, New Mexico. And New Mexico's definitely a trendy pick this year.
Yeah, New Mexico is definitely a trendy pick. They had a better overall record, better winning percentage. I don't know. See, then you get to the 6-11 matchups, and I'm just kind of stuck. Because, yes, they are ranked, or Clemson is ranked 6th and should probably easily dismantle New Mexico. But New Mexico's just kind of been that dog team, you know?
The Lobos, man.
The Lobos?
I'm liking the Lobos.
Statistically, though, I'm almost looking at this, like, they only shoot 71% from the free throw line. Like, something that I look at, like, down the stretch, like, because a lot of these games will probably be close just because there's so much on the line. Everyone's playing their hearts out. It's rare that games in a 6-11 type matchup are off. Clemson has a better true shooting percentage. The Lobos is actually pretty low. They do have a worse defense, but they also shoot 78% at the line compared to 71. And I feel like a team like New Mexico could have issues closing out Clemson at the end of a game just because, like, free throw shooting, like, when they intentionally foul, you have to make those free points.
They didn't. Okay. The Mountain West region is not great. I understand that, but they did not let up more than 66 points.
That is also something
their
to look at.
defense is-
So, suffocating.
Suffocating.
So you're going to go with New Mexico here?
I am going to go with New Mexico.
I
I
think-
don't know what's going on with my NCAA app on my laptop here, but it's being stinky, and I don't like it. I don't like what's going on right now.
All right, on to Ryan. Baylor versus Colgate, 314.
I got Baylor. I think Scott Drew, I think he's a really good coach. This year, I think Baylor's been one of the best offensive teams in the country. The Bears rank among the top teams in adjusted offensive efficiency and often an effective field goal percentage thanks to an elite premier shooting from players from star guard Jacoby Walker, I think.
Jacoby Walker, probably.
Yeah. And then I think if Baylor's offensive momentum continues in March, I think that could be very difficult to stop.
Colgate is one of the best defensive teams in the country, but they also don't necessarily come from a great basketball conference or any sport conference for that matter. They were 25-9 this year. They only let up around 63 points per game, but Baylor's offense, like you mentioned, is pretty solid. Their defense is not great, though, I do have to say, and I think they might be a little overseeded, but we'll see. I mean, I think in this matchup, though, it's pretty fair to pick Baylor over Colgate. I mean, I've seen Colgate in the tournament a couple of times now, but they haven't been super impressive to me. But on to Creston, Nevada versus Dayton.
Yeah, this is a tough game. Obviously, Dayton, I believe, lost. I think both these teams lost in their conference tournaments, actually. But when you look at it, I mean, net ranking, 22 for Dayton, 34 for Nevada. They're really close in true shooting percentage. The thing that I look at, though, is Nevada's top 37 in both KenPom and net.
KenPom is definitely a guide for college basketball.
I am going to pick Nevada here. I just feel like when you're that good at both offense and defense, it's, pretty hard to stop you when you score points and don't allow points.
I think it's interesting because correct me if I'm wrong here, but I don't think Dayton beat a single team this year in the tournament.
I don't think so.
They didn't have the greatest resume going into this, and I think that's definitely something to look at. They were in the Atlantic 10 conference. They were third in their conference. They weren't even first, and they're not in like a major pick, or a major conference, excuse me.
They did beat St. John's.
St. John's, I think, they played UConn really tough, which was impressive to me.
And they did lose to Houston, so they did play a couple teams, and they beat Duquesne by 10.
Okay, but they don't have any quad one wins, which I think is definitely playing a factor here. But Nevada is moving on, and now to Colin with my least favorite team in the tournament, Arizona, because they sold me last year in the first round.
Yeah, and looking at this one, my heart definitely wants me to pick Long Beach State. They've got the coach who got fired, and he said, nah, I'm going to keep going. He's keeping this team alive, won their conference championship, the Big West, and punched their ticket to the tournament. So you want to see a coach he's got nothing to lose right now. So it's really an underdog story for him. You would love to see him go far in this, and it's not out of the realm of possibility that a 15 seed beats a 2 seed. I mean, it's happened in each of the last 3 tournaments at least once. So,
Arizona lost to a 15 seed last year, if I'm not mistaken.
If I was picking this emotionally, based off my emotions, based off my heart, I'd pick Long Beach State. But
he said, "I will be there no matter what."
For the purposes of this bracket,
and the success of the group.
Yeah, to keep the group afloat, I have to pick Arizona. They're gonna win this game. I would love to see Long Beach State win, but they're just not gonna.
Hey, dude, thanks for being a team player.
I mean, I have to.
I really appreciate it.
There is no INT.
We all appreciate it.
So no major upset picks made yet, but we're going to move on up to the right corner of the bracket, starting off with the South region. Michael, you got Houston versus Longwood.
I'm going to pick Houston here. I think Longwood got lucky getting here, just kind of won the Big South tournament, and Houston's defense is remarkable, only allowing 57 points a game. They're going to take this one.
Houston's going to take this, yeah, I'm going to have to agree. I mean, there's only really one seed that I could see being a potential upset bid, and we have yet to discuss them. So, on to the next one, Nebraska versus Texas A&M. I got to go with Nebraska here. I'm not a big Texas A&M fan. Their true shooting percentage is only 50. Their net ranking is lower. Their defense is worse. They're 57% win percentage on the year. They shoot worse from the line. Every single metric here is telling me Nebraska. Nebraska, they have some solid wins this year in the Big Ten. They were much improved over what we're used to seeing from them. But back to Alex now with
James
the 5-12 Madison.
James Madison immediately right off the bat. They have a 91. Dude, 91% or 91 overall win percentage.
But they've only
Granted,
beat
they-
one team in the quad one, and that is Michigan State.
I mean, you guys can put your bracket however you would like to. This is a personal choice, and
This
I'm
is a
going
group
with
effort here.
personal
Alex.
choice I disagree
No, I understand that, but like, trust. You gotta trust.
I know,
wanna-
I know 112 seed is going to beat a 5 seed. I just don't
It
want it to be
happens.
James Madison. I don't want it to be James Madison.
I think we can take a little extra time on this one because we
Okay.
have
Okay,
the
good.
Wisconsin
Good, good.
Badgers going out
Yeah.
in the first round after almost winning the Big Ten tournament.
Almost.
Does anyone have any thoughts on this?
They play a bunch of plumbers. I don't know, like.
Yeah, they have a great record, but look at who they're playing. Look at, their conference and all that. It's like,
I mean, Wisconsin's
Kinda-
just been shaky all season.
I mean,
though.
Charleston last year,
Like, yeah, they
though, was,
turned it
uh,
around, but it's like they've been shaky all season. They've been inconsistent.
beat Purdue.
they've
Now
been
they gotta
hot
play.
lately, though,
They beat
James
Zach.
Madison.
They beat Zach Edey.
They beat Zach Edey.
which a lot of teams could not do this year.
Most teams.
Didn't? Oh, never mind.
Michigan State couldn't do it. I mean,
Okay, well, Michigan State is overrated, and what are they? The 9 seed?
but James Madison needed overtime to beat Michigan State.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
Oh, we've got them rethinking it.
We got him rethinking,
No,
but
no,
we're
you
gonna
don't.
move forward.
Oh.
It's
Ryan,
James
it is-
Madison.
it is now your turn.
It's James Madison.
For the Duke Vermont matchup. This is another one where some people I know are definitely talking about Vermont for a potential upset bid.
Yeah, I think sure Duke did have like they won 24 games this year, but they come into the tournament losing 2 games in a row, and I think their 6-man rotation.
They run a 6-man rotation.
No, it says like this here. Sure, the Blue Devils have 24 wins, but they come into the tournament having lost 2 games in a row, and there could be signs of fatigue, giving the penchant for relying primarily on a 6-man rotation. They're a balanced offense that should be good for around 80 points per game, but if they go cold or never warm up, this could be over quickly.
So you're taking Vermont here or Duke?
I'm still picking Duke.
You're picking Duke. Interesting.
There's
So
no way that they're going to lose 3 in a row, especially to a 13 seed.
Yeah,
we've said that plenty of times with Duke before. They lost to Mercer one year.
yeah. I still got. I'm picking Duke.
As Dude Perfect puts it, the Duke dilemma is a real thing in the tournament.
Hold on, looking back, because once again, my NCAA March Madness app screwed up. Did we have Nebraska or Texas A&M?
We had
Nebraska.
I
Okay.
picked Nebraska in that game personally.
Okay.
Are you
Okay.
following along yourself?
I mean, if there's one I really don't agree with, I'll pick the other, but
Okay. All right, now on to Creston. NC State versus Texas Tech.
I personally think that NC State's run was a fluke. I think they just got hot at the right time, so I'm going to pick Texas Tech.
But you could say, I disagree with you here, but I'm not going to argue it too much because we got to keep it moving. Colin, Kentucky, Oakland.
Yeah, Kentucky's winning this one. I mean, they put up almost 90 points a game, and they shoot over 40% from 3. On the other hand, Oakland putting up 76 points a game. They also allow 73 points a game, so not the best defense. Kentucky's
They're also
just
from the Horizon League, which is not the best
Horizon
league in the
League.
country.
weak.
That sounds made up.
UW Milwaukee
drive
and UW
Priuses.
Green Bay are in that conference.
And neither of those teams are in the tournament. So,
The Horizon League is one of those where if you don't make the tournament, you might as well, or if you don't win your conference tournament, you aren't making
yeah,
it.
exactly. And that's why Oakland is here. Kentucky's just going to run up the score in this one. Oakland has played one top 25 team and lost, while Kentucky is 5-2 versus top 25
What was the score
teams.
of that game?
I don't know.
Probably a lot to a little.
Probably.
The top 25
I mean, the
team.
VPI rank has Oakland at 130th. So
Not great.
Can't even crack the or double digits. I mean, come on.
Soft, dude, soft.
This is going to be a wash. It's going to be a
digits.
rout.
Who are their scouts over there? Who they got scouting over there?
They probably
right.
don't have scouts.
On to the
Jeez.
next. Florida versus the winner of, I believe, Boise State and Colorado. That's going to be an interesting one for sure. Michael?
Yeah, I think that first of all, Colorado is going to beat Boise State. I'm honestly not even sure if Boise State should have gotten in. And I think generally this is going to be a very entertaining game. It's going to be a lot of scoring. Both teams have like high offenses and bad defenses. So should be one of the higher scoring games of this tournament, but Florida's coming out on top over Colorado.
Yeah, I think Florida is kind of a trendy pick to go far this year for sure. I know there's usually like a lower seed. Like in the past years, there's been like more lower seeds, especially since NIL became a thing that really make runs deeper in the tournament.
And they play Marquette. Marquette always finds a way to choke. So
Yep. Speaking of which, Marquette versus Western Kentucky.
They will beat Western Kentucky. They
I
have
will-
to beat Western Kentucky.
I'm going to go with you on this one, Alex. I don't see them losing to a team like Western Kentucky.
Thank you.
It's just, they don't have a great winning percentage, Western Kentucky does. They don't play in a great conference either. I mean, some of the stats are relatively similar, but Cam Jones and Tyler Kolek are both incredible players for Marquette. Tyler Kolek was a second-team All-American, and getting him back in the tournament will help them. And now we're on to Purdue versus
The
Montana
only
State.
thing I can say that Western Kentucky is probably better at than Marquette is rebounding. I mean, they have 40 boards a game.
Also, Marquette plays in the Big East, which there's 3 legitimate teams from the Big East in this tournament this year. And St. John's, in my opinion, probably should have gotten into, but it's a different discussion for a different day. Alex, on to the Purdue versus Montana State and Grambling State winner.
I mean, it has to be Purdue, right? It has to be.
Does it?
Does it,
I mean,
though?
it doesn't, given their track record and their chokes,
So who are they going to face against?
either Grambling State or,
Montana State.
So which of them do you have winning? Does it matter?
Yeah, it doesn't much matter.
Like we were saying in class earlier, you make Zach Edey dribble that basketball, you got yourself a game.
Yes, you do.
It's going to be
That's
Purdue.
the problem. It's so hard for him to not get him to his spot.
You make him do a
But
crossover,
compared
it's
to
over.
good teams, the role players on Purdue might not be as great as other teams. But if
I actually
they're playing,
think their role players this year are better than they were last year.
so you think they're going to beat the 16 seed?
I think so,
Okay,
personally.
perfect. Glad we're all in
Should not have
agreement
taken
for that.
much time.
Yes.
But it is Purdue.
All right, Ryan. This game, in my opinion, is a true toss-up. Utah State and TCU. I sat on this one for a couple minutes
did we have
when I was filling out my first bracket.
Who do we have the winner of Texas Tech, NC State?
We had Texas Tech in that one. All right, Ryan. We are now to you on Utah State TCU.
I feel like this is another close game because the overview for Utah State, they're incredibly off. They struggle to defend 2-pointers though. They play at a slow pace and don't take a ton of 3-pointers. But if they dominance in the paint, they could be tough to beat. But I think I'm picking TCU.
You're picking TCU. I think in this situation, you almost have to pick the tougher conference just because they're battle-tested.
Yeah.
Preston, you got Gonzaga McNeese, which I think is an interesting one for sure.
honestly a better game than it seems like. But Gonzaga has made 8 straight Sweet 16s. They have the experience. They have the good coach. I feel like Gonzaga's gonna narrowly pull it out.
Gonzaga over McNeese. Believe we picked only one 12 seed this entire time, and it's the one that ruffled feathers. Colin, you are now up with another potential upset bid. I think Samford could definitely give Kansas a run.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the first big upset of the bracket. Samford, Alex, do not look at me like that. Samford puts up 86 points a game. Leave. They shoot 25 threes a game and hit them at a 40% clip. They'll absolutely run up the score. Kansas has a good defense, yes. But I think Samford's just got that heart in them. They're coming in as a 13 seed, got a lot to prove.
Kansas is also not playing incredibly well as of late either.
Exactly. Going through a rough patch. This is just the perfect brew for an upset. You got a good team going through a rough patch and a team who shouldn't even be here that just has that dog in them. They've got a smooth offense that just super fast paced, chucks up a lot of threes and makes them. I think this is going to be an upset.
pulling it out.
Samford is going on to the round of 32.
Right, Michael? You got South Carolina, an upstart team, versus Oregon with Dana Altman, their head coach. I personally find it hard to bet against him in March.
Right, yeah. I'm going to take Oregon over South Carolina.
Interesting. We got a couple good upsets in this part of the bracket. Michael, do you have any reason why?
Nothing in particular. I just have more faith in Oregon.
Oregon, correct me if I'm wrong, won their conference tournament, right?
Yeah.
They beat Colorado to get there. On to me now with Creighton versus Akron. I got Creighton. Now, not much discussion needs to be had here. I think Creighton is one of the better teams in this tournament, and they could definitely be a dark horse for the title. Alex, 7 versus 10, Texas versus the winner of, I believe that's Colorado State and Virginia.
This is a tester. I think Texas is one of the better 7 seeds in the tournament, but I also know that Virginia has a great track record in the NCAA tournament.
I would not say
Well, I'd
that.
say good. I'd say it's good.
I would not say that either.
16-1.
It's inconsistent is the word I would use, considering they lost to a 16 seed one time.
Everybody's lost to a 16
They
seed
also
at one point or
completely
another.
gave that game to Furman at the end last year. That was ridiculous.
I mean, I'm still gonna go with Texas, Chris. I'm still gonna go with Texas.
Texas? Okay, fair enough. Now we're on to Ryan. We got the Peacocks of St. Peter's back for more. No Doug Edert this time.
Did he
but,
graduate?
He transferred, actually.
Oh,
He goes to
jeez.
Bryant now. But they face off against Tennessee, the Volunteers.
Where?
Bryant.
Bryant University, yes.
That's a high school in Arkansas.
He transferred to
He
high
went,
school.
he went back to high school.
Wait, like what was what was the year St. Peter's made a run? Man?
I believe that was, what was it, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
That was a fun team, for
Doug.
sure.
Yeah, I'm picking Tennessee for this. I think.
Aw.
Why?
I just,
Why?
I don't see St. Peter's beating Tennessee.
Oh, no, I agree with you. It's just...
I think it's just
fun.
the spirit of the Peacocks.
I think they have a good player in Dalton. What's his name?
Yeah, he's one of the best players in the
Yeah.
country. I don't remember it
Yeah,
off the top of my head,
I don't
but
see St. Peter's keeping up with Tennessee, so I'm picking Tennessee.
yeah, St. Peter's in the MAAC only 12-8 this year. Not great, but you can never count out teams like that when it comes to March.
That's true.
Creston, you are up now. Believe we're on to our first matchup of the second round.
Yeah.
We got UConn versus Northwestern.
I mean, it's got to be UConn, right? I mean, they're just so dominant. I don't think their real test will come until the Sweet 16, maybe even Elite 8. So
Yeah, against Illinois.
It's so hard to test for you. It's so hard to bet against UConn in March.
Yeah.
They just. It feels like every time they make it, they're gonna.
even
They're
if they have a tough year, it's almost
Yeah.
like they just turn it on. And
Yep.
'cause what were they last year? 4 or 5?
something like that. I picked them to go out in the first round last year. They faced off against Rick Pitino's Iona team and they beat them by 30. I was embarrassed. Colin,
So I
you are up
believe-
now. San Diego State versus Auburn.
Yeah, 5-4, never easy, but I think you look at some of the teams Auburn has played. They lost to Alabama, they lost to Kentucky, they lost to Tennessee. Meanwhile, San Diego State has beaten tournament teams like Gonzaga. They beat New Mexico. They beat Utah State. I think they've shown that they can beat the good teams, and I think they're going to win this matchup.
You're picking Auburn here?
San Diego State.
Oh, my apologies. But yeah, I mean, they made the Final Four last year too, so it shows that they have some juice in there for sure. On to the next one, BYU Illinois. This is 2 high-scoring offenses.
Well, first of all, I actually had Duquesne winning this one.
Oh, you did? My mistake. I'm
No
sorry.
worries.
I completely spaced out.
But nonetheless, I still think that Illinois is going to win.
Fair enough. Now we got Drake versus Iowa State. I think Iowa State is definitely one of the teams that could win it all this year. Unfortunately, the Drake curse is going to take effect. Iowa State just has a really solid defensive group. Also, shout out to Wisconsin product Milan Momcilovic for them. I always like to shout out Wisconsin talent on the show, but I'm going to pick Iowa State here. Alex, we are now to the other side, or the bottom side. North Carolina versus Michigan State.
Yeah, North Carolina is going to absolutely decimate Michigan State, most likely by 400 points or more. They just have a way better offense. Yeah, Michigan State's just always known for being like a true grit and grime team, but North Carolina's just really going to, really stick
Give
it to
'em-
them.
Give them the
Yeah.
business.
Yeah, give them the business.
Exactly.
On to the next one. Ryan, St. Mary's versus Alabama. This one, I think you could almost give it a toss-up.
I think I'm gonna pick St. Mary's.
St. Mary's.
'Cause I don't know. I just think Alabama, like, I just feel like Alabama struggled on defense a little this season. And like
St. Mary's had a great defensive efficiency
Yeah, I
this
think
year.
St. Mary's won their conference. I think Alabama, one game this year gave like 111 points and a loss to Kentucky.
Kentucky is also just an electric offense,
Yeah,
too.
so I
But
think I'm picking St. Mary's for this.
St. Mary's, interesting. One thing that sticks out to me about St. Mary's is their free throw shooting is abysmal. So if this game is close down the stretch, Alabama probably has an advantage in my opinion. But if St. Mary's can just shut them down throughout the game, I think probably won't be an issue there. But now we're on to New Mexico versus Baylor in the second round. Creston.
Yeah, I feel like this game is going to be a lot closer than people might think. I do think Baylor will take it in the end, but I think New Mexico will kind of grit and grind Baylor down, maybe make it a little bit of a scary game.
I think New Mexico has everything going for them to be a Cinderella. I think they're underseeded at 11 for sure. Moving on to Arizona versus Nevada. Colin.
Yeah, and in my own bracket, I don't even have Nevada making it this far. I think Arizona is going to handle their lightweight real quick. They've shown that they can beat good teams all year. A 10 seed's nothing to them. This is going to be an easy win for Arizona.
I just want to say that I don't think Dayton or Nevada really are anything.
Yeah.
So I think Arizona
One of
has
them's
an
going to have to
absolute.
go against Arizona. And they're gonna
Arizona
get
has an
beat.
absolute cakewalk to
Bad.
this to the Sweet 16, in my opinion. Michael, we're up to the top half of the bracket now, I believe. Yeah, we got Houston versus Nebraska. This one could be interesting.
Are you sure about that? I have Houston over Nebraska.
Houston over Nebraska. I think Nebraska is a super high scoring offense, and I think that could make for an interesting game against Houston. I think most people probably are going to go chalk on this one, but Houston does have a great defense. On to my pick now, James Madison versus Duke. I think Duke at this point now has a cakewalk to the Sweet 16. I don't really think James Madison offers much of a threat, to be honest. I know a lot of people want to pick them over Wisconsin, saying they were overrated or whatnot, but I'm going to pick Duke over James Madison onto the Sweet 16. Now we got Alex again, Texas Tech versus Kentucky.
Yeah, Chris, I mean, both these teams just have, good offenses and horrendous defenses. So
it'll be a fun game. There's no
it's
doubting
definitely
that.
going to be a fun game. I'm going to go with Kentucky,
You're going to take Big Blue Nation?
unfortunately.
You're not a Kentucky fan?
I'm all about the upsets, Chris. If I see a good upset, that's what I like.
Well, the last upset was not good in my opinion, but you do you.
Whoa.
If you know what I mean. Ryan, on to you now. Sorry to bring the controversy, but we got Marquette versus Florida.
Are you talking about the James Madison one?
Yes, I am.
I thought so.
I think I'm gonna go with Marquette for this.
Marquette? Okay.
I think. Wait, what's his name? Tyler
Kolek.
Kolek. Wait, isn't he hurt?
He was hurt, but I think from what I've heard, he's coming back.
Yeah, I think. I think the Marquette is they're aggressive team offensively. They're high scoring inside game, and I think they throw the ball a lot. So I pick Marquette.
I think if Cam Jones gets hot, that's definitely the X factor for them. Moving on to the bottom, we got Purdue versus TCU. Creston, you have the mic.
I'm going for the choke job. I'm picking TCU here.
Ooh. I think Zach Edey's not going to get as soft of a whistle here as he does in
He doesn't have
the Big Ten was ridiculous this year.
I also look at TCU's defense. They're ranked 30th in defense, which isn't bad. They shoot 36% from three. They get a lot of offensive rebounds. They get 12.5 per game. They're also a very good stealing team. They get 4 blocks a game and 9 steals. And like you were saying, I think defense is important when you're playing a guy like Zach Edey.
Yeah, Zach Edey, I think if you can draw him out of the paint defensively, I think one of the reasons he's really going to struggle in the NBA is he won't be able to just sit in the paint. Like the defensive 3 seconds, I was watching that game against Wisconsin on Friday. I'm like, can they just institute this rule already so Zach Edey literally can't just sit under the basket for 20 seconds on a...
10 to Campfire, he was eating s'mores? Like, I'm not really sure what.
Not s'mores. He was eating those mini donuts you deep fry. All right, now Colin, on to you. So we got TCU, a major upset. The first 1 seed goes down. We got Gonzaga versus Samford.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Samford's Cinderella story will be very short. Gonzaga, like Preston was saying earlier, they've got a lot of experience. They live for March. They make deep March Madness runs every year. A team that, for like Samford, that hasn't really been here before, they're going to get hot in round 1. But then after that, they're kind of going to fizzle out and face the experience of Gonzaga, and Gonzaga's going to go on to the Sweet 16.
Gonzaga, this is probably, I think, more of a down year than they've had in a long time. They've been like a perennial contender for quite a few years. They've had guys like Chet Holmgren went there, Jalen Suggs, Drew Timme, but interesting.
Is he in the league yet?
He plays for the Wisconsin Herd.
The Bucks G League team. He was just one of those guys that stuck around college for 4 years,
his
and
game
it felt
really
like he never
translate.
left. It's kind of like Zach Edey.
Yeah.
I want to say Zach Edey might actually be a 5th-year senior this year.
Get a job, dude.
Get a job.
Start flipping
Get a
burgers. On to Oregon versus Creighton.
I got Creighton over Oregon. There are some dogs over there in Creighton.
Fair enough. Now, I got Texas and Tennessee. I think Tennessee is kind of an upset-prone 2 seed, to be honest. They've had some games this year where they've been tested, to say the least. I know they did beat Wisconsin early in the season on the road, which winning in Kohl Center isn't always easy, but I'm going to take Tennessee here over Texas. I don't think Texas is the greatest team. I mean, playing in the Big 12 does make things harder, but Tennessee is going to beat Texas, and now we are on to the Sweet 16. Alex, UConn versus San Diego State, 2 of the teams that made the Final Four last year.
Yep. Man. Like, as much as I want to say San Diego State, and believe me, I do. They have a better defensive efficiency. They don't have that offense. You know, they don't have that offense that UConn has. So I'm gonna stick with UConn here.
That's honestly fair. I think UConn is just so tough to beat this year. And, like, justifying a reason for a team beating them is tough, honestly. Ryan, you got Illinois versus Iowa State. This is a game where I feel like it could go either way.
Yeah, I'm giving me Illinois.
This game is interesting because it's 2 teams from, like, polar opposite ways of playing. Iowa State is so good defensively, and Illinois is just a high-powered offense, and they got multiple guys that can score.
Yeah, I think Illinois' offense has just been so good all year, especially like senior grade Terrence Shannon averaging over 20 points a game.
When he went nuclear during the Big Ten tournament too, I want to say he had 40 in their semifinal matchup, and I think he was somewhere in the 30s in the final. So
I think Illinois' confidence coming into this tournament is unmatched. Final Four team, possible champ. I mean, they're gonna meet UConn. You know.
I said the same thing about them a couple years ago, and they lost to Loyola Chicago, so you never know.
So I think
Sister
Illinois'
Mary.
offense is just so good. I'm picking the upset here.
Interesting. Now we're on to Creston. St. Mary's, North Carolina, Sweet 16.
Yeah, this is a very defensive game. But like we were saying earlier, I think St. Mary's not being able to shoot free throws is going to come back to haunt them, so I'm going to pick UNC here.
UNC to the Elite Eight. Colin, you are up now with the other matchup in the bottom region. This one's pretty chalk for the most part, not too much going on. Baylor, Arizona.
Yeah, a 3 versus a 2 seed. You know, Baylor, 5-5 versus the top 25. They put up 80 points a game. But then you look at Arizona, they put up 88 points a game, and they only let up 72 points a game. So it's just, they're such a good team, and I think that I'd love for Baylor to beat them here, but I think Arizona's going to keep going on.
Arizona was number 1 ranked at one point this season. I know the Badgers. I hate to keep bringing the Badgers up, but they went down to Arizona and they got smoked.
You don't hate it. You don't hate it. You love it. You know you love it.
I hate the upset that you made, but
I changed it.
Well, it sits at James Madison in the bracket, so we're going with that.
Well, then I don't change. I'm changing
Michael?
it back.
What is this, Houston Duke?
Yes, Houston Duke.
Duke is done for. Houston's going on.
Just a one-liner. I don't think
railroad
Duke is
headline.
great this year. I'm gonna put it out there. Although I do think it's funny how Jared McCain can sing that 2 days into college song pretty well, if you know what I'm talking about.
If they go to like the Final Four or something, the Jared McCain edits on TikTok are just gonna take over.
They're going to explode.
Yeah.
The other matchup that I'll be taking here, Kentucky Marquette. This is so tough because both of these teams are prone to kind of just letting their fan bases down in March. Kentucky, one of the blue blood schools, hasn't had like a successful March Madness run in a long time now. They get all these 5 stars every year and they just can't do anything with them. But on the other side, Marquette is kind of the same, where it's like they have this incredibly talented team and then they have this coach Shaka Smart who can just not win in the postseason. Don't know why. I'm going to take Marquette though. Homer bias in me. Alex?
What I got? Purdue.
No, you got TCU Gonzaga, yeah.
I'm going to go Gonzaga. I mean, just the experience. They score more. They have better defense. I mean, I think the experience alone, you know.
The experience is definitely huge in a situation like this. At the end of the day, it's just who can handle the pressure better a lot at the end of those games.
Give me the Zags.
Gonzaga Bulldogs are on.
Give me
Ryan,
the Dogs.
you got a good one here. Tennessee versus Creighton.
I think if this game happened, I think this game would be very close. Cause like, I don't know, I think Creighton does have a big 3 though. I think Trey Alexander, Ryan, Kalkbrenner,
I'm not looking at them right now, but that sounds right. Ryan Kalkbrenner.
and then. Yeah, I think for Creighton to return to the Elite Eight, they need to keep the pressing game flowing. But I think I'm going Tennessee in a close one.
Tennessee's going to pull it out over Creighton. Interesting. So we got Gonzaga and Tennessee in the Elite Eight. On the bottom, we got North Carolina, Arizona. Then we got UConn, Illinois, and Houston Marquette, the 1 and 2 seeds in 2 of the regions. And 3 of the 1 seeds are still alive. Creston, you got UConn, Illinois.
Yeah, this game is really tough. I will say something that stands out is Illinois has the 81st ranked defense, and against the number 1 scoring offense, that's going to just come back to bite them at some point. I'm going to pick UConn. I do think this game would probably go into overtime if it happens.
I think it's going to be a great game. It's a true toss-up in my opinion. I think this game is honestly tougher than whatever team comes out of the West region. If UConn wins this game, they're going to the national championship. Colin, you got North Carolina, Arizona.
This one is also going to be such a close game. Arizona could
This
very
is Caleb
easily.
Love versus his old team. That's
Yeah.
something to take
Yeah.
note of.
Yeah.
Arizona very easily could be a number 1 seed, but there is a reason North Carolina is a 1 seed. But I don't know.
Armando Baycott is still on their team, right?
Yeah, he
He's a
is.
huge rebounding piece.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know. I think that offense of Arizona is just so unstoppable. I think they're going to win once again.
They're going to move on to the Final Four. Does Arizona? Caleb Love exacts revenge on his former team. We got Houston Marquette now, Michael.
I'm honestly surprised that Marquette made it to the Elite Eight. I have Houston over Marquette.
Man, you are a big Houston guy. You don't even put any
Hey.
thought into these. It's just automatic.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
I got a true tough one here. Tennessee versus Gonzaga. I think I'm probably going to go with Tennessee in this situation. I was high on them last year. They shoot 75% at the line, which is decent. Decent enough defensive rating, in my opinion. It's passable. The SEC is one of the tougher conferences. They won 76% of their games. They're net ranked 7. I think I'm just going to have to pick them over Gonzaga in that situation. We've made it to the Final Four now. UConn, Arizona. Alex, go ahead.
Man, they both have great offenses. Arizona's got a better defense. Even in just net rankings, they're only two ranks apart. So that's tough. That's tough. Give me UConn. I don't even know why I'm dancing around the question. Give me
I
UConn.
say though, Arizona's at home technically because the Final Four is in Phoenix.
Oh, jeez Louise. Okay.
That is something to look for.
Okay.
They're going to have the home crowd, and 65,000 Arizona fans is going to go crazy.
All right, fine. We'll go with Arizona.
We are going to pick Arizona to go to the national championship. We have a change of heart. Ryan, Houston versus Tennessee.
I think Houston, I think they have one of the nation's top guards, Jamal.
Jamal Shed. Is it Shed or Sheed?
She, and then,
I think it's Shed.
yeah, I think Houston has one of the best rebounding teams in the nation, and they have an elite defense. And then Tennessee, I think, and then Tennessee possesses a strong defense, but their defense is like their calling card. I think they protect the rim, and they're among the very best in the nation on the side of the ball. So I think I'm going to Houston.
Houston is definitely a great pick in that situation. There's no doubt about
Yeah,
that.
I don't
They're
see
15 and
Tennessee-
3 in the Big 12 this year. The only team that I saw stop them this year was Iowa State. Weirdly enough, like everyone else, they just kind of got through without any problems.
I don't see Tennessee keeping up with Houston.
Houston just so elite defensively. I love their philosophy that they use where they kind of like let outside shots get taken more because they have the guards and the capability to just kind of pick off passes, and that they just have the right personnel for the scheme that they run, and that's huge in a situation like that. But I think for the national championship, I think we're going to do a vote. I'm not just going to have one person pick it. I think it's fair that everyone gets a chance to vote on this one. Alex, Arizona or Houston? Who do you have winning?
Houston.
You have Houston. Ryan?
Yep.
Houston.
Creston. Houston?
That defense is too good, Houston.
I actually have Arizona beating Houston.
I have Houston as well, just
Whoa.
off the basis that I picked Arizona last year and they let me down. That was frustrating for
It would be
me.
the funniest story, though, losing
Score?
to Princeton, then going to win the national championship the next year.
It would be, but not as good as when Virginia did it to UMBC. But so the tiebreaker here is how many total points do you think would be scored in that game, hypothetically?
It would be a defensive game.
I think probably around 120 to 140 is the range, I would think.
Say 120.
We'll just go
I'll say
120.
138.
I'm gonna go 145.
145, you think it's going to be a high scoring
High
game?
I
scoring
think
game.
Houston would win 75-70.
I think it's fair to compromise here. Could we say like 130? Is that a fair compromise?
Yeah, sure.
130. Around 65, somewhere in there. 67, 63. So these picks will be submitted. We got Arizona and Houston. We will check back in on this in 2 weeks when we come back from spring break for our show.
When our
We-
bracket is cooked,
When our bracket is
Cooked,
bamboozled.
it's over.
It was cooked since we started.
We are so done.
Okay,
it was
so
cooked as soon as you
who's the
picked
majority?
James Madison.
Did
changed
Houston win the
it.
majority?
Changed.
What?
Okay.
All right, so we're going to go through some final thoughts really quick. Just everyone give a little bit of a statement. Michael, I'll start with you. This
Well-
can be about anything.
Yeah, sure. This one definitely had a lot less upsets than the one we made on Monday. So I guess this one may be a bit more practical. I don't know who's gonna end up being better. We'll see.
We will see. That is definitely for sure.
Yeah, I'm just excited to glue myself in front of a TV and watch all these games play out. And all
Thursday's
my
going to be fun.
brackets.
My friends and I are heading to Buffalo Wild Wings that night. We did it
Sounds
last
nice,
year
sounds
too.
nice.
It was a good time. I watched Virginia collapse in real time at Buffalo Wild Wings last
March
year,
Madness
and I
at
collapsed
B-dubs.
just as fast as they did.
Oh yeah, that's what I did last year.
Nice.
I have a little bit of a hot take. I think the Clippers will end up in the play-in.
They will end up in the play-in. They have been struggling lately.
Yeah, they are. I don't know.
Without Russ, strangely enough, they've looked off.
They're also like what 3 or 4 games out of the play-in as it stands.
Yeah, they're honestly. I remember we had the discussion a couple of weeks ago about the top 4 seeds all being really close in
Yeah.
the play-in teams. New Orleans is right there with the Clippers now. Like that gap is closed. It's like the top 3 are still up and above everyone else, but the Clippers have really been struggling. Ryan,
Sadly, the Bears got rid of Justin Fields.
you're sad about that?
Terrible
Yeah,
move.
unfortunate.
Horrible move.
I think the trade package they got back was just awful.
Oh, that I
They,
agree
they
with
only got like a
100%.
fifth-round picker.
It was a 6th
Yeah,
round that
sixth
could
round
turn into
pickup
a
next
4th.
year.
Yeah, it was a conditional pick.
Now they're gonna
if he
throw.
plays 51%.
Yeah, which means he has to start half the games.
Yep. Yeah, I know. 50%. Yeah, I'm aware.
50% is half, Alex.
Yep,
Quick
yep,
math.
Yep.
Just in case you were wondering.
Alex, final thought.
Big shout out to Bobby Portis for going absolutely nuclear the other night.
Did you
Forgot
have
who
him
they
in
were
fantasy?
playing. No, I don't. But another thing I want to say is that I made the fantasy playoffs.
So did I.
With my ragtag group of misfits and outcasts.
I have Daniel Gafford, Jalen Green, and Jalen Duren all on my team.
Jalen Duren is an
Hey,
absolute animal.
Daniel Gafford, Woo Pig, baby, former Razorback. He's a stud.
This is my starting lineup. Emmanuel Quickly. Oh, he's out. That's unfortunate.
Oh, no.
Io
you're cooked.
DeSumo, Paul George, Kyle Kuzma. Oh,
It
he's
is
also
so
out.
over. It is
He's,
so
he's
over.
out. He's out.
We are so dumb.
Michael Porter Jr., Franz Wagner, Jalen Duren, D'Lo, and DeAndre Hunter. Yeah, my team sucks.
That's tough.
My team's awful, dude.
I guess my final thought will be thank you guys for tuning into Hawk Talk again here on Tuesday. It's always a great time, especially with the bracketology going on here today. Be sure to tune in for a regular show tomorrow and then the reactions to everything on Thursday here on 91.7 The Edge, WSUW Whitewater, also on UWW TV. We will see you guys again in 2 weeks. We will have off next week for spring break.